Now it's finally time for the large electric Audi sedan, Sportback and estate models. With this lineup here, can they take on the BMW 5 Series and the electric versions and the EQE by Mercedes? We're going to find out here with Thomas Nautekrühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Very first glance here, this is the estate, the A6 e-tron Avant. And here we have the Sportback version because it fulfills basically the sedan and Sportback version at the very same time. So the new naming logic at Audi is that the even numbers, so like A6, A4 and so on, they are the electric models, and the uneven models, uneven numbers like A5, A7 and so on, they will be combustion engine. So this is then the new naming logic. So this is here a replacement of the A6, but then on the electric side. At the same time, it's also an electric A7. Did you get that? Well, we're going into detail here right now for you. This color here is Siambeige. It's a very interesting color, really screaming out. And this is here the A6 Sportback, so electric with a liftback in the rear, soon more to that. You can see here the two-dimensional Audi rings in the front. This one also has a black package, so we have then the black frame around this. The headlamps are really slim in the integration. You have a low LED trim, a high LED trim, and then here the matrix LED trim, the highest trim. You can also pick different light signatures. We can already see it right here. So for example, this light signature here is different from the one you can see there. So this is another thing where you can individualize your light settings as well. Interesting also that the second LED trim is from the hardware identical, but then needs basically a software unlock also to have the matrix LED function. This is the new automotive world where you have the same features from the hardware on the inside, but then have to pay extra to unlock the things. We know it from Mercedes, for example, that you have to pay to unlock the rear axle steering to a higher degree and so on. Not a trend I would exactly appreciate. First of all, let's stay with the Sportback here. 4,93 meters or 194 inches is the length. So this is a region of today's Audi A6, but also A7, and you can see it has basically this A7 form with this really sensual, fluent line, strong hip area. In this case, again, with the black package that you have the black frames here around. And these door handles, they don't have any like physical haptical interaction, but you can grab underneath and then open that. And you can also now get a soft closing function here for the A6. These here are the camera mirrors. They also now fold in electronically, like when, to save some space when parking and so on. They will also have a different visualization now on the inside, so I'm going to show that to you. But you can still get the normal mirrors, and we have them right here. Look at that. This would be also an S model. There you have, for example, these silver contrasts, and it directly leads us over also to the estate. And there you can see that in the side profile, it has this unique feature that this upper bow goes from the front to the rear. It has the very same length. The difference is really just that the roofline is carried on all over here to the back. And especially on the European market, this will be probably the more dominant model. And we can see in the rear, another new feature is that you have these illuminated Audi rings here in red. This looks very cool, isn't it? Again, an option, the scheme. They try to condense it a little bit more with packages now, but still a lot of the things you can see with this vehicle is still an option. Standard, however, for the S model is here that you have the silver contrast right here. I think one thing I like best about the S models, of course, no matter if you go for the estate or the Sportback, both is available as a standard model and also as an S model. In the acceleration figures, you would start with around 6 seconds to 1 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. And then you go further down and down up to 3.9 seconds is the quickest at the moment with the S6 model. You can find the exact acceleration figures for rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive versions then in the pinned comment and also in the video description. So you either have rear-wheel drive electric motor or an additional electric motor in the front, and then you have this all-wheel drive setup, of course, without any mechanical link or something. But the rear electric motor will always be the stronger one. Interesting is that the boot is both 500 liters on the inside. It has to do with this, counting logic. And the estate model only has a higher luggage volume than when the seats are folded down. Because here it's very special, and I think I really liked with this Sportback concept. I always loved it with the A5 and also with the A7, because the car from the exterior looks like a sedan in a very fluent, nice design way. But at the same time, you get great luggage capacity on the inside. Soon going to open that. First of all, here the light strip goes all the way through. Look at that. These are also OLEDs, an option, organic LED. And there you can see you have an animation on the inside. Even here when static, you can see it's like shimmering a little bit like that. And of course, even more impressive when you hit the turning indicators, you have the cascading effect, for example. And you also have more interaction with the outside world. For example, also when you hit the turning indicators, there's like a warning triangle that warns the vehicles behind you. Then let's open that one here. This is then the normal A6. There you can see the special thing, it has this lift back opening. So this is what I meant, that it kind of is the A6 and the A7 in one car, plus being electric. And this is then here the 500 liters setup. You can see underneath, you can still store a charging cable like this. On the right side, you can see the subwoofer. You see that here, it raises a little bit towards the seats. Soon more also about the battery deals and so on, but you can also fold down the seats like this, 1/3, 2/3 split. And then when we have this setup here, this is then where the estate would have a little bit more volume, because you just have a little bit more air than on the upper part than here. But you can see in most cases then, like in Northern American market, this here will be the version. The estate, if it will be sold or not, is yet open. Audi says at least. So if you state in the comments, maybe if you're from America, like from USA or from Canada, and you say like you want the estate, maybe Audi will think about this. And I would say we just take a look at the estate right now, just to compare it actually. Let's see if there are any differences here with the estate model and also with the ruler of truth. So I just measured also the Sportback model. It was about 1 meter in width. It's the same here, like 40 inches. And it was 1.5 meters in length. And yeah, this one is slightly longer with 1.8 meters or than 43 inches. So like an inch longer than here, but it has more to do with the building style in the very rear. You can see in the height, it's just easier accessible right here, like about 70 centimeters or 27 inches. That's also the same in the Sportback. It's just that especially here you have a little bit better access, but it doesn't make too much of a difference, just that you have a little bit more height than here in the lower area. You can also fold the seats right here. There we go. So both will do very good for the whole luggage setup. And we also have a towing possibility here, and it is 2.1 ton, and that actually counts for all the models, so not only for the all-wheel drive but also for the rear-wheel drive models. And here you can see again the difference, the base model, black package, and here the S model without a black package. I really like the silver contrast, and here is the same blue color. I need to look it up again. It's like this South Sea, Malpelo Blue. So it's Malpelo Blue here for the Sportback, and also what we had with the Avant, just that here once again we have this nice silhouette and the contrasting mirror. Once again here also the real classic mirror, so you don't have to go for the camera mirror. 21-inch wheels, by the way, with all the vehicles we have here on location. 19 would be the base, you can go for 20, or then here for 21-inch wheels in different stylings. As for the suspension, you have a normal base suspension. Then you have the optional adaptive air suspension. And if you go for the S model here, then this one is standard and also gets a sportier S trim. By the way, the Sportback will be a little bit more efficient. 0.21 is the CD value. That's the best for the whole Volkswagen Group overall so far. And 0.24 for the estate, for the Avant. Not sure if that will really reduce the range significantly, but especially when you drive a little bit fast on the Autobahn, I think we will feel some effects. So that might be a reason to go for the Sportback. Yeah, the Avant then, when you want that styling or that little bit more space in the rear. And this one is a magnetic gray Avant. Maybe also something new, once again with the black package with a lot of black accentuations throughout the vehicle. And in the front you can see these ones in here in the lower part as well. So which color would you go for from this studio setup here? Tell me in the comments. Yeah, I think styling-wise, this one probably would be my favorite Sportback Plus in the S trim. And as for the battery size, there will be later on an entry-level battery at 79 kilowatt hours net. Starting, however, with the bigger battery, and most will probably go for the bigger battery, also equipped with this vehicle, 95 kilowatt hours. And then the question is, what real-world range can we score with that? On the same platform, we recently had the Audi Q6 e-tron. There we had some like 20 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometer, so like 3 miles per kilowatt hour. And that would mean a real-world range of 500 kilometers or 300 miles, like in a realistic and low estimation. However, since these here have now the flat form, better CD value, they will also be better in the efficiency than the SUV. So I guess that in a good case with good temperatures and not too high speed, especially the Sportback will be able to do more than 500 kilometers or 300 miles. Of course, we always give like the low estimation figures and don't try to exaggerate. We only try to give the exact figures when we have really driven the vehicle. The official figure even goes to like 700 kilometers or something. But when we can drive this one very soon for you, we'll keep you updated with all of that. Just like in the Porsche Taycan, the Audi e-tron GT, the Porsche Macan, the Audi Q6 e-tron, also here the A6 e-tron models use the 800 volt charging infrastructure or architecture. And that means from 10 to 80% you can charge in 21 minutes with a 270 kilowatt DC peak. And there it is, DC charging. And yeah, you've seen this by the Q6 e-tron, very famous charging flap meanwhile. So the logic behind that one is that it opens here electrically, and then you put in the cable, you plug it out, and then it automatically closes again. Or if you leave it open, like after 1 or 2 minutes or something, if you want to close it again, by yourself, you have to give it a little push, and then the electric motor goes again. There we go. And yeah, you might argue about would have been maybe just easier to go for a manual charging flap or make that maybe an option in this case or so. I personally prefer the manual charging flaps. It's just easier, nothing can break and so on. Yeah, because this also always takes a while. Yeah, I think you can argue pro and con with that, but it's definitely always a funny feature to show off, and it's also very famous in our vertical format, like on YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook in the Reels. If you haven't joined us for this format, definitely do so as well. This electric charging flap also exists on the other side here, on the passenger side. Same mechanism, yeah, thanks again a while. But here then in this case, only the AC charging, but it's good to have it on both sides, definitely, to just be more flexible from which side you access a charging station or a wallbox. By the way, you can also order our merchandise out now here, either this shirt here, we also have a simple logo shirt, a cap, and also the Autogefühl fake exhaust shirt. So it's linked in the video description and the pinned comment, and also under the video you'll find the shop integration. Then here to the front of the vehicle, you may remember it from the Porsche Macan. Here you can also swipe here, make a swiping gesture in the front, and then the front also opens. It's good that you not only have to go and open it from the inside. And yeah, finally also an Audi EV with a Frunk. Well, the Q6 e-tron also had one now, probably like with sharing this platform together with the Porsche, and Porsche has this, really long background of Frunks, and yeah, this is definitely suitable at least for a charging cable, and then you don't have to store it underneath, when there's luggage on top of that, and you don't have to put it up. Interesting, by the way, that these are also an additional dampening measure. So then you maybe hear less, vibrations that is created from the hood itself and so on. Usually we just see that with combustion engine models, but yeah, Audi says they have also paid a lot of attention to the NVH, so noise, vibration, harshness. Of course, when we drive the car, we'll see more about that. And if the car has a low CD value, usually it's also good then for less noise on the inside and so on. We'll keep you updated with that. If you want to open the trunk with the Footkick mechanism, by the way, there we go. When you get closer to the vehicle, you now have this symbol here that you exactly know where to do the Footkick. And then, because you maybe even know it from your own vehicle, when you have this Footkick mechanism, and then sometimes you swipe here and there and nothing happens, but there now you exactly know where to do that. So yeah, that's a good feature. There we go, we can also close it that way. And I have to, you know, be away from the car that it really closes. So if I would stand there, well, it's being said that it doesn't close there. Let's just try it, you know. Here it shows me again where I have to swipe. There we go. And now let's see if I can kill myself with this vehicle. Because, you know, also that sometimes happens. I'm not dying. That's good. Yeah, I think now I was too late, actually. But I think that's a very good feature because it happened to me quite often, you know, that I was packing some things here in the trunk and then you were at the sensor here with your feet and suddenly the trunk was closing on you. And that was pretty painful. So I think very good mechanism that the car is actually waiting for you now. There we go. And then when you move away, then it does really close. Here we go. If I close the vehicle, also here the camera mirrors fold in electronically. That looks really funny, doesn't it? This is the key fob, matte black, but it's quite good. Then you can see here the door handles. They don't come towards you or something, but you can grab in and you don't have any physical feedback there. They now also offer a soft close here. There we go. But the door closing sound needs to be tested anyway. And yeah, because there's the motor, it's a little more resistance then. But yeah, when you slam it really, it's a good sound. Let's try the rear. That sounds even better. But there's also, there we go, soft close here for the rear. Then inside of the doors, here there's, you know, like rather hard pack on the top part. Then you have different decor elements available. This is maybe not my favorite one, but pretty cool is here we also have a fabric option for the inside of the doors here with some nice stitching, optional Bang & Olufsen sound system, 20 speakers, and here you can already see the screen then here for the digital mirrors, and it has a better placement now. So before it was like here, now it has moved up so you can better see that, but you can still go for classic ones. Then here, the inside of the doors is not covered with some fabric or something, just some rubber ground. This being the S-Line interior package here, by the way. Then you also have S-Line steering wheel, flat bottom, S logo. This is also the animal-free steering wheel. It has different special structure on the surface that you can actually differentiate that. Soon I also make all the screens alive, but you can see when it's off, it's like one black panel. And these are also the fabric seats. Has a very nice cushion here. So this, then in this case, the whole animal-free setup here in this gray fabric living room style. Then this cockpit overview here consists of 12-inch instruments, 14.5-inch infotainment system, and an 11-inch passenger screen, optional. Yeah, the sense of that, I always say it, I don't see it. A passenger would rather look on their own smartphone, but some do like that, and then you have the option at least, otherwise there's a decor element here. This decor styling here is not my favorite one, honestly, but I do like the fabric here on the lower part. That looks quite fancy. Then with 189 or 6'2", there's still enough headroom left above my head, so that's actually quite good. They are more spacious vehicles, but it's definitely fine for tall adults as well. And yeah, I mean, due to the lower seating position, if you compare it to the Q6 e-tron, it conveys a little bit more driving fun, definitely. You still have a haptical interface here for the volume. Then in the front part, 2 USB-C chargers. This here, the smoker's package. And the smartphone is like hidden here with the inductive charging pad. Not an ideal solution. Yeah, has to be clamped in. Yeah, maybe they should have thought of something better. And then here, shifting lever, reverse, driving, cup holders are also adaptive. They are more beautiful hands than mine. No, it's fine, it's fine. She will also want to take a rest for a while. Then here the armrest, you can slide it open. At the moment this here like prototype car, so it needs to have these emergency off switches, but of course you will have a storage in there. Driver POV, here we can also switch the views of the digital instruments, and yeah, they are actually quite nice and very nice to see do the job. And then we also have a head-up display. There we go. Isn't catching that well on camera, but yeah, for real eyes it's okay. And when I look over here to the rear infotainment system, the climate unit is always to be controlled here in the screen lower part. You know, I do prefer physical dials. At least they always stay in this kind of position, and it is now Android Automotive based. You can still connect Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but it's completely new backend definitely. So this is majorly changed in the drive select. Here, when you click through the modes, you can also then switch the air suspension if you have that. In the efficiency mode, it goes, by the way, 20 millimeters lower to be even more efficient. Now you also maybe hear in the background the air suspension working like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward if this one is now way more reliable than, for example, in the Q4 e-tron, where it wasn't that good. And now Leah is showing you the Electrochrome roof. At the moment, everything is open. But here this is then the Avant version, and you can either have this split or like this zebra pattern, but I don't see any reason in that other than a show effect, honestly. But more reason is then when you completely either open or close it, and it has this layer effect, so it closes like this. Layer, yeah, layer effect, yeah. And when you open it again, it goes like this. But I also have to say, why don't they just make one button and then it's open and another and it's closed like other manufacturers? Because I think, once again, this is nice for showing off here in the video or for reels or something. But when you are a car customer, you want one click open and one click close, don't you? Rear seats. Whew, honestly, it's giving me a little bit of the EQS vibes. Look at that. I mean, it's an almost 5-meter long car, and it does fit for tall adults, yes, but barely, not too much legroom. And can you also see how low I'm sitting in here in the way? Like here, like the angle. So I feel a little bit lost in here in the rear, honestly. It feels like, why are my knees so high? It almost feels like I would be like, you know, but then headroom works with 189, 6'2". That's the Sportback version here. So I think the bench is too low. That's probably the thing, right? Isn't it? Isofix on the outsides each. You can slide these covers open. Then here, cup holders are adaptive, and you can also fold this ski hatch here. That's also possible. Middle console has a climate unit, but it's not powered here at this moment. Top tether at the rear. At least there's no big middle tunnel or something like that. And let's take a look at the rear doors on the inside. Nice fabric covering here, rather hard on the top part, and also no covering on the inside here again. So expected a little bit more here. Interesting also, the Avant has more headroom here in the rear, and also the panoramic roof helps too. So like fixed roof versus fixed roof, Sportback versus Avant is 3 centimeters or like an inch more headroom, and then another centimeter here with the panoramic roof. So this is then the most headroom setup here, and the least headroom setup would be Sportback with fixed roof. It still fitted for me with my height, but here definitely more headroom than overall. Some of you might know I grew up with pets or animals, and they were always family member or even children to me, basically. That's why I care about also animal-free interiors. And the thing is, I'm really happy that Audi now offers a solution. Finally, they were really late to that, but I really appreciate it. However, I think the BMW approach is a little bit better because they offer high-grade leatherette, whereas Audi just offers a fabric interior. And some like the fabric interior. I also like it, and it also has a lot of advantages. But especially, for example, in the Northern American market, people would maybe wish this slick surface here to wipe it clean and so on. And there, BMW offers the high-grade leatherette, which is just better than the animal version and even more breathable and more sustainable and more animal-friendly. And Audi has the choice either fabric or animal skin, you know. And I think high-grade leatherette needs to be basically the standard nowadays, that you don't have to switch between like either or. If you like this panoramic roof feature here, by the way, it's not only available for the Avant, but also for the Sportback. Yeah, and as I said earlier, the Avant at the moment not planned for the North American market unless you really protest against this in the comment and say, Audi, hey, we want the estate. We've seen it quite often, you know, that you say, hey, we also want the estates in the US. So yeah, feel free to join it in the comments, and then Audi can also read that. The thing is that here with the A6 e-tron or the S6 e-tron, It will basically, with this size or with this length, at this moment fight against both of the German competitors, like the Mercedes EQE and EQS at the same time, and also the i5 and the i7 by BMW. So in this approach here, they basically have one vehicle and for kind of both segments at the same time. So it's very, very interesting what happens with that. And of course, you can now check out how the competition performed so far.